Welcome to HMS Belfast. Now, HMS Belfast you've probably seen if you've been to London. Why? Because it's right opposite the Tower of London, and as you can see, it's right under the gaze of Tower Bridge. And as we go on, you go through here, which is where HMS Belfast spent different years of its service career. Now, if you've never been on HMS Belfast, you're in for a surprise, because believe you me, I was in for a surprise. You get to walk through the whole ship. Almost nothing is off boundary, which is absolutely incredible. Now, when you see the ship at the side, yes, you do realise it's big, but what you don't get is the full scale inside it. So, in this video, we're going to take you right through. We're going to see some amazing bits, plus we're going to get some great views from around the ship as well, just like that, Tower Bridge and the Tower of London, all overlooking HMS Belfast. And I can't recommend this as a London attraction to do even more because it is absolutely fantastic. Everything in the ship is well labelled, so you can't go missing and you can't get things wrong, and it really does help you to understand what's going on. There you go, we're on the quarterdeck. Don't know how I knew that. Anyway, you also get a pair of headphones as part of it as well. So as you go through, you can put in different numbers and hear stories about different parts of the ship and different people that made the ship tick. Yeah, and don't worry, we're going down there soon. It's brilliant. You really do get to climb across the ship. So let's talk about accessibility right from the start. So you can get onto the ship and you can get onto the deck. Then from there on in, it's not really accessible. You can climb up into different bits. So it's not really a great thing for accessibility. So this is probably one to avoid in central London. So here we're inside one of the front gun turrets, and it really shows you how these things work. Plus also you get a soundtrack as well when you're in there. Plus, as you can see here, things projected onto different parts of the inside of the boat. So you can really imagine how this thing was operational when it was running. Now, we talked about accessibility earlier. One thing you need is agility because you're going to be climbing up and down the steps just like these, which are very, very steep. And also they go down all of a sudden, and inside, if you don't duck in the right places, you could well knock your head. So I'm just giving you fair warning beforehand. But it is open and accessible to anyone that wants to have a go. So there isn't a children age limit on it. Right, we're now going inside the ship and we've got different offices as you enter. Now, as you go around, as you can see, you've got arrows on the floor pointing the direction in which you take. So that really helps. Although I did find a few places, and I was also told by some of the staff as well, about different places you can go down, which you may well miss. So we'll point that out on this tour as well. One thing I love about doing this channel is doing all the things that I've never done before, and I can't believe HMS Belfast falls into that category. This ship has been moored here since the 1970s. I've seen it I don't know how many times, especially going to the Tower of London, across Tower Bridge, on the South Bank, etc. But have I ever been on it before? No, not until now when I'm filming it specially for you. So can I just say a massive thank you for being part of our community and forcing me to come and do these things that I've never done before. See? It's all down to you. So a big thank you. And can I just say how much I actually enjoy doing it as well. So really appreciate it. So as you can see, we're going to the laundry, and this is what I mean by being agile, because not only have you got to sort of guide yourself around those pipes and ventilation bits, plus also you've got to be able to climb up and in to this area, which is the laundry area, which kept all of the laundry clean when the ship was at sea. Can you imagine the heat in here? So you've got these major presses here to press everything and make them neat. Plus, you've got all of the washing machines, the tumble dryers, you've got all of this all within the deck and not much in the way of ventilation. Can you imagine how hot it would have got in here? And funnily enough, just like when you go to a dry cleaners, this is the machine that used to give you your laundry label. So as a member of the crew, you drop your stuff off, you get your laundry label, which would be produced through this machine here, and then you come back later and pick it up. So this is HMS Belfast, which is now a museum ship, and she is a town class light cruiser and began construction on her in December 1936 and was launched on St Patrick's Day 1938, which is quite appropriate being called HMS Belfast. It really is like just a floating self-sufficient place, because this is the workmanship for the woodworkers. So things like planks of wood which were on the decking and other places where you've got wood and all the repairs like that would be done here. So HMS Belfast was initially part of the British naval blockade against Germany, and in November 1939 Belfast struck a German mine, and in spite of fears that she'd be scrapped, spent more than 2 years undergoing extensive repairs before returning in November 1942. So here you've got the mailroom. By the way, those headphone signs with the number, that relates to the keypad that you get so you can hear the stories of what went on. And this is where the mail was then sorted when it was picked up, when the ship had docked. Because the ship was at sea for many months, that's why you have all of these different areas, including this, the chapel, so people could come in here and have a peaceful, reflective, contemplative time. But interestingly enough, right next door to the chapel, you have this. So in posh words, it's the studio reproduction equipment room. It's the studio. They had their own radio station which pumped out to all of the different speakers around the whole ship. And from here, as you can see, they used to play records, which would therefore keep the crew entertained so that it would pass the time of day. Now, what's interesting is the 1940s. It's on vinyl, and you've got the boat going up and down. I wonder how many scratch records they've got. So anything electrical was fixed here in the electrical engineering department, and that was right next to the kitchen. And as you can see here, this is one of the major fridges where meat was kept. And then we're going to go over in just a second into the kitchen area, into the galley. Now, we talked about heat earlier in the laundry room. This must have been almost unbearable and must have taken one heck of a lot of training just to get ready for this. So as you can see in here, they've got the sinks, they've got the pots, they've got all sorts of stuff that's sitting in here. Yeah, obviously no one's actually jiffed those sinks for many, many years by the looks of it. By the way, other sink cleaners are available. Plus you've got the various ovens, all keeping people fed and watered all day long. Now, another great thing about HMS Belfast is there's quite a lot of areas like this and this display that you've got here, which are interactive. So when you're coming with different people, coming with teenagers or young children, you've got all sorts of things to keep them entertained, not just the things they're going to see across the ship as well. Plus also climbing the stairs, which they're going to absolutely love. So whilst we continue our tour of the kitchen, so when HMS Belfast returned to action in November 1942, it had improved firepower, radar equipment and armour, and Belfast saw action escorting Arctic convoys to the Soviet Union during 1943, and in December 1943 played an important role in the Battle of the North Cape. And then if you go to June 1944, HMS Belfast took part in Operation Overlord, supporting the Normandy landings. Got to admit, this is absolutely incredible. It almost feels like the crew have just stepped off, cleaned it up, and then they've left us to come walking around. So you've got a dumbwaiter there where the meals could be sent to different floors in a lift shaft, which is just there at the side. Now, if it really looks good and it really looks like it's just been left and it's a great little museum piece, that's because it's been done by the same people which have also got the Churchill Museum, the Churchill War Rooms, which we've done earlier this year, and I'll put a link to that up in the top right hand corner. And if you're thinking your eyes are deceiving you, yes, that is a cat, and the reason the cat was in the potato store was to keep the rats at bay. So not only did you have that big kitchen area, but you've also got the bakery as well. And the heat coming off these must have been absolutely incredible. Baking bread almost 24 hours a day. In June 1945, HMS Belfast was redeployed to the Far East to join the British Pacific Fleet, arriving shortly before the end of the Second World War, and she saw further combat action in 1950 to 1952 during the Korean War. As you can see here, this is a senior mess, and one thing that you'll get very used to as you go through HMS Belfast is the different sorts of rankings and the different sorts of facilities different ranks had, so the hierarchy really does come into it. Now here we're by the galley. I'm going to show you a secret entrance which takes you down to the next level, but as you can see, you've got a library which is here, and there's so much more to show you. But the good news is these steps, if you find them, and they're so easy to miss, will take you down into the engine rooms and the boiler room, which is where we're heading next. And yes, we've just come down these steep steps. So you remember that bit earlier where I said you really can go walking around this ship? You can, because not only we're going to walk around the boiler room and the engine room, and you can see right down, see that green? Yep, that's another corridor which we're going to be walking down. So you really do go up and down the ship. You go under the waterline because it really is that deep down within the ship, and you go from the front to the back. So it really is a fantastic place to come, but also you're just sort of let loose free. Just go and have a look. So I wonder how long it takes them to kick people out at the end of the day, because they must be stuck in here for hours. But anyway, let's carry on our look around the boiler rooms. And the great thing is, look at these dials. So you've got different dials all over the ship for different parts doing different things. And this is for the DC turbo generator. Now, I don't know what it means either, but it says so on the label. And actually, I was very impressed because it's got lots of different dials. Yep, I can see several people hitting the keyboard now, telling me in the comments what it is. Don't worry about it. This is just a nice video for people to go and have a look and just give you the general sense of what HMS Belfast is like. But as you can see, look, you can look all the way down and there's ladders there, so you're going up and down those. It really is a brilliant place. So if you have got young children, keep them close by. Following the Korean War, she underwent an extensive modernisation between 1956 and 1959. She also had a number of further overseas commissions, which she followed before entering reserve in 1963. Then, in 1967, efforts were made and initiated to avert Belfast's expected scrapping and to preserve her as a museum ship. Now, a joint committee of the Imperial War Museum, the National Maritime Museum and the Ministry of Defence was established, and then reported in June 1968 that the preservation was practical. In 1971, however, the government decided against preservation, prompting the formation of a private HMS Belfast Trust to campaign for her preservation. Now, the Trust's efforts were successful, and the government transferred the ship to the Trust in July 1971. She was brought to London, and she was moored on the River Thames, where she is now by the Tower Bridge in the Pool of London, and opened to the public in October 1971. Belfast has become a branch of the Imperial War Museum in 1978, so they run the Imperial War Museum, they run the Duxford War Museum, plus they also run the Churchill War Rooms, which I mentioned earlier. In 1973, she became home to the City of London Sea Cadets, who met on board twice a week. Now, this is a really popular tourist attraction, and to give you some idea, over 300,000 visitors a year come on board. So the best thing to do is either get here early or get here late, but not too late, because it does take a good few hours. I was going around quite quick, and it took me a good 2 hours at least, and I thought I was going to get lost several times, so do make sure you allow plenty of time. And it's now part of the National Museum and part of the National Historic Fleet, and it's supported by the Department of Culture, Media and Sports. So this little handset you put to your ear, practicing the number, and it really does give you fantastic commentary in different parts of the ship, but also interactive. As you go around, you'll find things like this and little buttons that you can press, which kept me more than entertained. So if you've got younger people, it'll keep them entertained once they've got you away from it, of course, and you're not pushing the button. Just to give you an idea of how steep the steps are, there, that gives you it, but also you've got all this stuff around you as well, so you really do have to sort of navigate. Right, we're going up, and now we're in the metalworking department. So if you remember, if you think about it, you're at sea, you've been at sea for months. The only thing you can really do is, if you've got something broken, is to repair it. So with all of these lathes and all this different metalworking equipment that you've got here, if you remember back to your school days, this is where stuff came. Stuff was repaired, or if they had raw materials, stuff was remade and then replaced other bits and pieces that were broken. It really was about being self-sufficient. Right, we're going to get up from the lower decks, we're going to go back onto that deck where the galley was earlier, and other things that you have here, you've got a dental surgeon. Yes, and look how old some of this stuff looks. But if you were at court at sea and you had a dental issue, the dentist was here for you, but only for emergencies. It wasn't available for checkups. So yes, can you imagine? You're at sea, the boat's going up and down like nobody's business, and you're having your teeth sorted. Yeah, I think I might take a couple of paracetamol and hope to get home. So here as a whole, we're in the sort of the medical area, the sort of the sick bay area, because not only have you got the dentist, but also next door to that, you've got the dispensary. So those aspirins or those paracetamol that I was talking about, this is where you would come and get them. And of course, it'd have doctors on board as well. And then next to that, you would have the infirmary or the sick bay. Now, this is the operating area within the sick bay, and then you had beds sitting right next to it, and the only thing that cuts off this area, which is the operating area, and the beds area, is a curtain, but you'll see that in just a couple of seconds. In truth, the only bit of privacy you got was probably in the examination room, where actually you were being pulled to pieces to find out what was wrong with you whilst you were being diagnosed. By the way, that thing laying on the bed there is a stretcher, and it's called the Neil Robertson stretcher, and it had big sticks of bamboo up it, which made the whole stretcher really flexible and go right round the body. So actually it was quite a rigid thing, but it was used to transport people around the boat when they needed to, around the ship. So then as you come back out of the examining room, so this is the operating bit, and as you can see, as I was saying before, it's literally curtains which go round it to keep it separated from the actual sick bay area. And there you have the beds where people were recovering. So you've got 4 beds, and what's interesting is the 4 beds are on poles, so as the sort of the ship moves around, these also tilt as well. And I'm guessing if you wanted the top bunk, if you were able to climb the stairs, you could have it. Right, now the great thing is, don't forget you are in central London, which is absolutely mad. So every so often, just go for a porthole and go and see what's going on outside. There you go, you've got the City of London and also a Thames Clipper Uber boat going past as well. So it's a great reminder of where you are, yet in the boat you feel like you're way back in history, especially with some of the things that we've seen so far in the sick bay area and also the dental. Within the sick bay, of course, there were patients getting over their operations, so to stop infections, they had their own toilet, and also next door to that, they also had their own bath area, which meant dressings could be changed quite easily. And then next to that, you've got the doctor's office, which also doubled up as an X-ray room. Now, if you're thinking, wow, God, that looks like a nice cup of coffee and cookie from the 1940s, it's not. They've got a cafe on board, which is brilliant, well worth taking a stop at. So do come over here. I must admit, I did this about halfway through and it felt really good and fully refreshed and charged after. So, as you all know, those that watch the channel on a regular basis, a nice black Americano went down fantastic, as did the chocolate cookie. Right, back to the tour, and now we're going to a different canteen area. And how about this? This area is where you could come and get some goodies. So as you can see, you've got beans, you've got chocolate, you've got all sorts of supplies. And these supplies were given to the ship from various places that it ran into. Now, one of the other things is they had a provision issue room, and it used to be a tradition to drink rum on the ship at 11 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, they got rid of that tradition. I don't know why, but they probably saved one heck of a lot of money, and also people from having their tot of rum at 11 o'clock in the morning as well. But anyway, you can find out more of the history of that when you're here. So to go along with the woodwork repair room, the engineering repair room, and also the electrical repair room, you have this, all the different knots and sort of fabrics, and you've got all the sewing machines ready for all the different types of stuff. And yes, this is Frankenstein, who was the ship's cat, and we saw him earlier in the potato store. So set up across the ship, you've got different areas in which they would eat. And also you've got this area at the front here. Now this is brilliant because you've got to climb up, go over and go through. Once again, that agility coming into it. But here you've got various hammocks where people slept as well. So it's absolutely incredible. But don't go anywhere. We've got a jail to show you. Yes, they even had a jail on the boat. When you've got a ship of this size and a crew as well, I suppose space is at the paramount. Right, if you had naughty people on your boat, on your ship, these were the punishment cells, and people would be placed in here for doing all sorts of things that they shouldn't have. And these are 2 cells right at the very front. So, woe betide anyone that got up to anything they shouldn't have done, especially during shore leave. Especially, there you go, with that thing that you actually put around your neck, it says locked up. Now, these are really good. Seen these signs? Yeah, so this says this is on the second deck. It's the first half, which is that A of section C. So therefore you knew your way around the ship by looking at these signs. Right, we're now going into the missile bay, which is right down underneath. And as you can see, they're on a big carousel. And then what would happen is the missiles would then come around on the carousel. They would then go up through a conveyor belt section in the middle, up to the guns above, or at the other end of the ship. And how do you get the missiles from one part of the ship to the other? Answer? Extremely carefully. Yeah, very carefully. But they'd go up in those tubes to the other part of the ship where the guns were. And you can see the wooden racks behind. That's where the missiles were stored, the spare missiles. On this deck there were a number of these carousels, but you can almost imagine the people standing there in the middle, grabbing the missiles and putting them up through the tubes. Absolutely incredible. Just to be able to walk through this ship as freely as you can and see all of the different things that were in action at the time. Right, the other great thing about this ship, as well as with other parts of the Imperial War Museum, is that they really do make it as interactive as possible. And there's even a game that you can play, and you can even play it online as well, which relates to running warships. But there's even more interactive things to show you later. So if you've got people with you that love the fun and the games of interactive, playing games, etc., this is certainly an area that you'll want to come to. And I can guarantee you during the school holidays, this will be absolutely packed out. Really hope you're enjoying this video, and if you are, you know what to do. Give us a thumbs up, will you? Give the video a thumbs up. That helps us to spread this video around more around YouTube, so we can help other people love London as well. And if you've watched this channel for some time and haven't subscribed yet, you know what you need to do. We've got so many videos, so many fantastic videos to come, all planned in, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and also hit the notification bell, because then YouTube will tell you when we upload a new video. Right, we're back on the other side of the kitchen. This is the normal side, the side where you come and help yourself to the food. So if you needed to get messages off the ship or get messages in, this is the transmitting room. So this is the area where they sent stuff and received stuff that came into HMS Belfast, otherwise known as the transmitting station, as opposed to the transmitting room. Yep, I'll never make a naval officer, you can tell. Now, to keep direction, you had a couple of these. You had gyro compasses, so you could tell which way was magnetic north, all in an aid to steering the ship. So we've seen some of the stores already, but this is interesting because they kept the soap and tobacco separate, as you can see here, because it really did smell. And of course that would affect other goods as well. So they kept these things separate here. Right, as we go through, we go into even more areas. As you can see, it's just brilliant. You just walk through and enjoy yourself on this ship. Now, if you get a chance to do this, this was my favourite interactive piece on HMS Belfast. You get a chance to steer the ship, and as you can see, you get given instructions. You're told what course to do, and you have to steer the wheel to get the ship going right through the middle of the channel, and it gives you more and more complex maneuvers as you go through. I can guarantee you this will be a busy piece. If you can get here quick, then that would really aid. But also, not only does it tell you what you've got to do after you've had a go at the exercise, it even shows you how you've done, and you've even got that loud hailer to shout back as well. How did I do? Well, I didn't sink the ship, but I didn't exactly keep it straight either. So I think those people that might have been on my ship might have felt a bit Hasten Jason. And if you haven't heard that one before, it's like Hasten Jason, fetch a basin, yop flop, fetch the mop. But anyway, moving on rather nicely. Have your own go. There you go. And that shows you how you did. Right, let's continue our tour. Now, the reason for that last piece of interactive is because next door, this is where HMS Belfast was steered from. But as you can see, it's down beneath the level of the being able to see what's going on. So you were instructed as the person that steered HMS Belfast where you had to do it, what angle to do, and you just had to follow those instructions, but you couldn't see what was going on. Right, here we're at the front. You can see London Bridge there. Now we're looking back towards Tower Bridge, and you're looking up at the guns as well. So the rest of our tour now takes going into the captain and the admiral's areas and going up higher and seeing the views out of the windows that you would have seen if you were piloting this thing. Well, actually, if you were giving instructions to the poor so-and-so who was piloting it, who never saw daylight. So from up here, you've got a lovely shiny compass, plus other great equipment as well, not only just the views. And how about that beautiful chair? Yes, you've got a lovely radar system as well. By the way, you can actually sit in the chairs, and it's great for a photo opportunity. And they're nailed down, so you can't actually move them out or can't fall over from them. But it's also worth making sure you take your view out of the window as well, and just see central London from the bridge. I bet that's probably what it's called, of HMS Belfast. We've now climbed up and are at the highest part that you can get to on HMS Belfast. So whatever you do, do get up here, because it's great to get the views, not just from the front and see London from here, but also the higher you go, the posher and more machinery you seem to get to be able to navigate this thing. I'm hoping that this video really just shows you how sprawling this ship is, but how much you can get around it. And my only question is, when they close it every night, how do they make sure everyone is off the ship? Because there's so many different areas and compartments. Anyway, yes, you probably want to make sure you've got a mobile phone for a good signal if you're getting up here before it closes of an evening. Right, what we're going to now do is go inside and have a look at the navigation things inside. So up here at this height on the bridge, you've got the navigating officer and the captain's chair, both having a good view out of the front. And you've also got their navigating officers and the captain's quarters up here as well, so they could be right on hand should they need to be, should there be an issue on the bridge when they're not on their duty. I don't know about you, but if you look at the picture, if you look at the video from the level below where you've got people, it doesn't seem to have as much equipment as it does up here. So I think the higher you go, the more advanced the machinery is, without any doubt whatsoever. Also, there's nothing quite so reassuring as paper. So you've got all this beautiful tech equipment, the radar system, etc. And then in the room right behind, you've got all of the maps. Yes, the paper maps. So they could chart their way around the world. Now, with all the various guns underneath and the view of centre of London, this is one view you definitely want to make sure that you capture when you're here on the ship. Right, we're going to go around the back, and here it really does look advanced. Not only have you got radar systems, but you've also got these sort of glass mapping charts. So you really can go techno in this room here, especially on this level. Certainly up here, you feel like you're in a Star Wars film with all of this equipment and everything sort of running the ship. It's quite incredible. So not up here do you have all of the best equipment or the best looking equipment, but you've also got the living quarters as well of the top staff that are running this ship, including the captain, the admiral, the people navigating it. You've got all of this sitting up here. So whatever you do, it's very easy to miss, but make sure that you get up here on the bridge and the one above the bridge as well. So you've got the two different levels here. So I must admit, when I thought about going on HMS Belfast, I thought it's got to be one of those ones that I've got to cover on this channel, because obviously it's a part of London that so many different people see. But once I got on here and toured round it, I couldn't believe what I've actually seen. And actually I feel really bad that I've not been on here before. So my recommendation is, if you've got the time and you got the ability to get around and go up and down the different ladders and come and see everything that you've got here, this really is a fantastic place to come. I can't recommend it highly enough. Oh, by the way, I'm not being paid for this. This is my own personal opinion, but do come and have a look if you do get the chance. HMS Belfast, it's on the South Bank, so it's between London Bridge and Tower Bridge. Really, really easy to get to, and London Bridge is your closest station. So, what did you think of HMS Belfast? And have you been on it before? Or are you like me, one of these people that's seen it time and time again, but never had the opportunity, or never even thought of going on there? Anyway, do let us know what your favourite part was in the comments down below. Be really interesting to see. And isn't it incredible just to look around and think this is actually moored here in the centre of London? Now, if this has whetted your appetite to get out on the River Thames, we've got a fantastic video to show you where you can do your own boat trip up and down the Thames and take in these fantastic sights. So if you click on that up in the top right hand corner, I'll see you in there.